Well, we'll start by congratulating you, shortlisted for Manager of the Month alongside Harry Leonard for December, and great recognition of a wonderful month for both of you.
Yeah, I think I would say that Harry has been exceptional, and I think that he would be the first one to say that he has a team around him that are working hard and providing him chances, and of course he's doing his bit. And then from my point of view, I represent people like yourself who do a fantastic job and have done for a number of years, and I represent all of the staff that are based here at the training grounds, and I represent the staff that I'm lucky enough to work with on a match day at the stadium. And so I think that an award for Manager of the Month is lovely, but it goes far deeper than that. And I think without lots of people really pushing in the right direction, you can't have a month like we did, especially over that Christmas period when it's chocker, so stressful, so many people really, pulling their weight. So in that way, to be nominated is recognition for a lot of people rather than just for me. So.
If you look back at the game against Bolton, given the opposition, given the nature of the game in terms of how controlled you were and how you dealt with pressure when it came in the second half, how you responded to a setback in terms of scoring within 60 seconds of conceding. As a manager, did you come away from that game thinking there's a lot of things that pleased you, maybe more than other games, given the things I've just mentioned there?
No, I think you're absolutely right about that. I think that in some ways the jeopardy in the second half was almost more rewarding because it allowed us to show different sides, and I think that we went from being a team really in control, and I loved the way that Bolton responded, because I thought it showed a really strong management team and a really strong playing staff as well, because the way they adapted. And I think we still managed to remain in control for quite a long period. And then I think more changes and change in style and personnel, and then really put us under a lot of pressure. And so by the end of it, it was exhausting. It was like it was like a theatre production. Everything happened out there, and the story unfolded. And I'm very pleased with the group of players that they managed to come through that with the victory, and players coming into the game off the bench making big impacts again. So very, very happy with it. Yeah. It's
been one or two occasions actually in this season with yourself in charge in terms of winning the game, and how the last 6 or 7 minutes have not been which can sometimes happen in games. It looks like you've got the characteristics within the group, and that they know what to do when that sort of time arrives, whereby keeping the ball, getting it in and around the corner, causing the opposition problems rather than waiting for something to happen.
Well, I mean, first of all, I couldn't have described it better than you did. I don't know how you've managed to get the idea. There you go. I mean, that's how games can be at the end. No, they can be like that, like a roller coaster ride. But I appreciate that, because for me, this is an opportunity to talk about the squad as a whole, and the continued commitment of players, the maturity to understand that if you're not starting a game, you have a huge role in finishing the game. So for you to recognise that is great opportunity for me to talk about the squad as a whole. Sometimes the players that play week in, week out from the start of the game become more etched in our memory when we think back to a fixture. But I think, for example, I think Pemi came on, his first couple of actions, he changes the flow of the game by applying so much pressure and relieving pressure as well when we try to clear our lines. Then, I think we saw players come into the game, and instead of looking for a moment to make a big impact in their own way, they looked for a moment to be responsible for the team. And that's so pleasing. It's so difficult to create that for a group of young guys that have all got their own ambition, their own targets. But to be able to see out a game in that way is credit to the entire squad and players not necessarily starting the game, finishing the game and giving us a real boost, and that's important. So that pleased me so much.
Yeah, and actually when you think about that and the impact someone like Donny O'Brien-Brady, for instance, who when he came into the side did really well, but also when you've brought him on in games, sometimes around the 60 minutes, sometimes 70 minutes, when the game's live, there's a lot going on, he seems to have a cool head and are able to, know what is required at that stage in the game?
That's another great example because his last start, we won that game, and he's really upset, to not be starting the game, but in a responsible way. And Donne is such an attack-minded player that it's very difficult sometimes for players with that mindset to go into a game and recognise, okay, there's certain actions that I have to make more reserved, I have to be calmer, because really they want to go there and make a big impact. And that's brilliant, because we need those players. We need those players at certain times to go into the game, to really go hard to create something. And there's other times when the players come into the game and we have to try to ask them to, and he done that. And that's such a great example, because this boy loves his trade. I mean, yesterday, one of the staff told me, boss, two of the players, one of them was Donne, were out on the AstroTurf late in the afternoon, and they'd taken a table from the canteen. They're out there hitting actions one after the other. I mean, this is like the gold standard of attitude and behaviour and desire. And when he goes on the pitch to contain that and sacrifice everything for the team, that's everything. That's how a team can try to win at all cost and win in all different manners with players with that responsibility. So great example, and well done to Donne.
I was thinking when we interviewed Matty Garbutt last week, and you spoke about him in terms of not being a conventional winger in that particular position that he played, obviously tucking inside and sort of becoming a sort of floater, a free role, I think he described himself as. That actually puts a lot more emphasis on Peter Kioso as a right back, because effectively, if you are coming inside, you need the width, don't you? And he had a tireless job, didn't he, going up and down in both halves of football. And I can see by the end he was drained. You must be pleased that that combination worked, but it only really worked because he was doing his role.
No, again, you're spot on. I think it's a big responsibility on that side of the pitch, because when one moves, there must be counter movement. And sometimes that requires PK looking at a large stretch of pitch that he has to explode into it. And how well did he do it? I thought he was outstanding. And yes, Matty is, in the last two games, I've seen 2 slide tackles, really full commitment, desperate to protect the team. I've also seen a massive recovery run where he managed to muscle his opponent and reset the ball back to Bassi. When Matty plays in that way, with responsibility, all tied in with his flair and his intuition, then I think we see the best sides of him. We see a rounded player when he has that full commitment, hard running, defensive responsibility, and then his intuition. When it's balanced off with Jimmy Morgan, I would say, in this area of the pitch, and with Peter Kioso when he has that responsibility and he plays in tandem with them. Other times the team is set up slightly different and we have a winger that really occupies that space. But in this way, I think there's so much responsibility. But when the players have that mindset, then I think they can function so well together.
It's always interesting as well. You look at the goal that Jimmy J scored, and it's been on social media all week as a clearance from the goal, almost like a throwback to years gone by. But actually, it was just a counter-attack in a different way, wasn't it? From a management point of view, yes, it's a great clearance, and yes, there's only one thing that happens before it goes in the back of the net, but you still need the runners, you still need the people making those actions.
This is a brilliant example, because we were talking at the beginning about Harry being nominated. Now, he scored some great goals, he scored quite a few goals in a short space of time. Of course, that grabs the headlines, but have a look at the ground that he covers to win that first contact, and how committed he is to go and jump and win that first contact. There's other people's heads there, there's forearms there. That's like a proper player, because we know that we can play into Harry when we're building up, and Harry can protect the ball and he can join in. We know that if we give him the ball in front of the goalkeeper, he has that calmness and he has all the clubs in the bag, he can finish. But let's talk about the fact that he's prepared to sprint across the pitch, jump for the header. Then let's talk about Jimmy J Morgan, is the Chelsea player on loan that wants only the ball to his feet to do nice stuff. He sprinted down the middle of the pitch to get onto a second ball. He can't be more direct and old-fashioned in that way. And then what a brilliant example, because you have a long time to think about that now. Plenty of things can go wrong. We've seen top players struggle with these actions, but you saw a young guy make the first committed flick on. You saw a young guy on loan absolutely emptying the tank to get the team up the pitch, and then manages to have the composure to bury it. I love that, because I think in the first half we were like 72% possession, and we scored by kicking the ball the length of the pitch, because Bassi is switched on, because Harry is so committed, because Jimmy is prepared to make the hard yards, and then he has the quality at the end of it. I'm really happy with that, honestly.
Gustav Lindgren has gone back home to Sweden. Obviously, a good deal probably for him, because obviously he's moving back home, and as you alluded to when you were speaking to sort of external media, it's so many factors come into a decision like that. Whilst it's sad to see him go, you can understand the reasons behind it.
Yeah, spot on. I think I'm very upset, because I really enjoyed working with Gustav, and I felt like we had always power to bring on. We had always determination and somebody that can score a goal. I think his impact from the bench has been brilliant. He's able to start games. This boy's more than good enough to start games at the level, and I think on more than one occasion when Gus has started, Harry's come on and scored. I mean, it's really a privilege for the manager, but at the same time, Gustav has had overall a tough time in the UK, and what a brilliant offer for him to go to a really good club and be back home. So it's unreasonable to stand in the way of that, and so for that I'm happy. I'm sad to see him go, honestly, but I'm happy for him.
And I guess that presents a thought process, doesn't it? Because you've got Pemi, who's like a new player coming back off loan. You've got Jimmy J Morgan, who can obviously play there. You've got others within the building who can play there. Is it something that, given the fact we're only halfway through the window, it's something you don't need to think about too much right now, but as the month goes on, it might become a different picture? Yeah,
definitely. It's certainly something that we are prepared for, because we have targets that we've looked at, and there's a lot of work gone into that. But at the same time, we've barely seen Pemi on the pitch. We've seen some really interesting things when he has played, and we're seeing him a bit more in training at the moment. So it would be great if we already have the answer in the building. There's nothing better than that, in my opinion. So let's see, because as you say, that things change so quickly in football that we have days left in the window, and we are prepared if we feel like the best option is outside the building.
21's game against Wigan gave the opportunity for some of those players to get minutes. Obviously pleasing for those. In terms of those that are sort of working their way back, where are we, for example, on Ben Woods?
Yeah, Ben is doing well with his rehabilitation, so we don't think he's going to be too long away now. So that will be a huge boost to the squad. Such a good player. So yeah, well, I think maybe a couple of weeks or something like that.
And then checking in on Harley Mills, because obviously he had the operation, which obviously went well. I've sort of seen him in and around the building again, which must be pleasing for you to see that he's, got from his bed to where he is now. It's
lovely to see him back in the building. He's doing very well in these early days, because as anticipated, he's desperate to get back, so he's doing everything, and he's young and he will heal quickly, but he's obviously got a journey in front of him, but he's doing brilliantly well, and it's lovely just having him back in the building.
Finally then, Plymouth at the weekend, and again an example of a team that could have parted company with their manager given the form at the start of the season, but knowing what he has on his CV and what the potential is for him as a young coach, I'm guessing as a fellow manager you're pleased that he was given the opportunity to try and turn things around.
I'm so pleased they've made the right decision. I mean, it would have been better for me if he wasn't there, because he's maybe I had more chance in the game, but no, I've been a competitor of his a couple of times, and I think he's a top person, and he's obviously top at what he does. I don't think that should ever be questioned. It's that difficult that even someone with that quality can find it challenging at times, but it's so refreshing to see a club that they know what they have, and they know that all the problems don't lie with him, and so let's give him more time, and that is really hugely pleasing. Yeah.